So with Bella doing her speed snore in the background, so I was sharing something on Twitter, and after I'd posted it, I was recommended this. So Bernie, DNA storage. Oh look, the WEF are discussing how humans could be categorized and even rejected based on your genome sequence. Handy that Labour has just announced the collection of every baby's DNA, all linked to digital ID to follow you for life. And I've said it over, many times over the years. It's not the only visual representation of Agenda 21, but I would say it's probably one of the most on the ball is that Code 46. Seriously, no two doubts about it. Filmed in the noughties. What was it? Tim Robbins, various others, blah, blah, blah. Fucking depressing film. I say this because it was, even when I saw it at the time, I went, that's Agenda 21. Seriously. And so I recommend you find it. I may or may not put a link to it underneath this. I've done it in the past. I wonder, does that affect my views? Blah, blah, blah. I've no idea. But, But anyway, under fair use, let me turn the speaker up slightly and just play you, stopping it occasionally. Think about what this individual at the WEF, the World Economic Forum, even in the logo 666, and I mean there's many examples, but this being but one, but yeah, let's play this.
But once you can probabilistically and through modeling be able to much better see what's going to happen. Take, for example, the fact that we already could start to see signs of Alzheimer's many, many decades potentially before a person starts to manifest the condition. Do they want to know? And if they don't want to know, should other people have the ability to know? Should an insurance company be able to make choices about whether to cover them? Should an employer have access to that information to make decisions about whether or not they are somebody that they ought to employ?
I mean, think about what she's saying there. Yeah? I mean, that Bernie makes a point, but I would argue this is much deeper than that. Remember, if they can tell decades in advance, and I don't doubt that, telltale signs of neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's, and let's be honest, it's basically exposure to various chemicals, the consumption of seed oils, artificial sweeteners, excitotoxins in general, and then of course aluminium. That exposure, and of course aluminium and fluoride, it binds. So you tend to find that people with Alzheimer's, etc., have high amounts of it in the brain. None of this should be rocket science, but they're not addressing that. This is about, and remember, here's another thing. I mean, look, I covered it maybe a couple of weeks ago about abortion up until birth. I mean, think about this. This is just murder of unborn children for any apparent reason. Any reason. And meanwhile, when you look at apparently the market for body parts in relation to babies, I mean, it's astounding. Yeah. I mean, we are dealing with an interconnected death cult. There's no two doubts about it. But one of the aspects of Code 46, which was basically, as I said, a visual interpretation of Agenda 21, was that this thing about global citizens and using this, essentially a type of chip which they could switch on and off and have limited access to based on what they're presently being expected of them, And you may think, hey, I'm born in Scotland, I'll live in Scotland all my life. They have a different view of that. While you've got this deliberate uncontrolled immigration. And I just shared something that apparently in a number of councils, they focus on refugees as opposed to native homeless by a factor of 10 or something. I mean, it's ridiculous, yeah? over time, I mean, I've said it over the years, you're going to get told, listen, you can't seem to get a job or, whatever your skill set. Well, the Sphinx, the AI, says that you need to go to India or Pakistan or wherever it is in the world and you just carry on and work in a factory there. I mean, people just do not get the fact that if you're happy to reduce or take away even cold weather payments to many pensioners because you've got to focus on housing dinghy surfers, etc. I mean, there is a long term, and it's not that far away. There is many goals that they have and what they're pushing in at the rate of knots. But think about this. Assisted dying as well, and they're like, look, initially it was, it'll be run past at least a judge or two, high court, blah, blah, blah. There'll be many other various people involved in it just to, any decision on any individual. And they just watered it all down to nothing. And what they really imagine, if you can no longer get insurance, no longer get employment, no longer get whatever, how long have you got a roof over your head, and whatever that means in the near future? Yeah. And so you're at the point of suicide, for example, and they're like, well, we're here to help. You think about what they're really saying here. It all ties in.
But once you can probabilistically and through modeling be able to much better see what's going to happen. Take, for example, the fact that we already can start to see signs of Alzheimer's many, many decades potentially before a person starts to manifest the condition. Do they want to know?
Well, that's true. Most people are willfully ignorant, so they don't want to know. I mean, remember, through, in no small way, the programming of the many. Hey, just be any size you like. And if anybody says anything about your weight or, whatever, something that's really detrimental to your health, you're fat shaming or you're this shaming or you're that shaming or you're, people used to genuinely, without a care in the world, say things to each other, not out of being nasty or whatever else, but genuine concern about each other's health. Yeah? Meanwhile, it's McDonald's and it's whatever, and it's all the seed oils and all the toxins and all the... I mean, really, when you look at so many people now, in comparison to, say, the 70s, I mean, there was fat people, overweight people in the 70s, but it wasn't anywhere near what it is now. I mean, it was... go look at older photographs from decades ago. Not that many decades ago, yeah? And remember, what does that is they stuff themselves with comfort foods and all the rest of it as opposed to just genuinely decent conversations. Yeah? Do what they will. Hey, there's no, Meanwhile, and I mean, it's the same thing with all these numpties with the, Sainsbury's Nectar card and Tesco's Club card. I mean, literally saying there's a 2-tier system in that Tesco's. If you aren't prepared to give us a blow-by-blow account of what you eat and drink and consume that we sell on to third-party companies, we make quite literally hundreds of millions a year, every year, based around pushing you to give us data that we can sell on to others, of which they're all absorbing, because all that data is shared, yeah? Meanwhile, they're blissfully ignorant of how their car insurance is more expensive or health insurance or whatever else when they've got the data. But they think every little helps, and that's some way, somehow, they don't care. See, that's the thing. The bulk of the population is quite self-centered, yeah? I mean, I go still into Tesco's occasionally to get very specific things, yeah? Because I can only get them in Tesco's at the moment, by and large, yeah? But Tesco's is constantly reminding me, sorry, it's quite warm in here, that if I just gave them my data, that would be only that price. And anybody who's not up for doing that, they'll pay another price. The legality of that is more than questionable, but nobody questions. Meanwhile, they're giving their data to absolute psychopaths who literally look lower the population for Gaia Mother Earth while making out like bandits financially. Yeah, that's basically it.
And if they don't want to know, should other people have the ability to know? Should an insurance company be able to make choices about whether to cover them? Should an employer have access to that information to make decisions about whether or not...
And they're all like, oh, but we're deep in thought. We're all above reproach. This is a serious subject.
They are somebody that they auto-employ. But once you can...
Seriously, I'll leave you a link to it anyway. Thanks for that, Bella. Good God. Always has to put her wee paw print on a video. But yeah, your thoughts. And a few shares and thumbs up would be nice. Maybe even a subscription. And I'll speak to you soon.